Hey guys, how y'all doing today? My name is Franchise Fanatic and welcome back to the channel. And today, if you guys is a certain, we're covering a certain topic today. I'm doing this because it's kind of mysterious. If you enjoyed this video though, if you kind of got it from the thumbnail, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new. It really does help me out in trying to get to 2,000 subs ASAP. But anyway, we are going to talk about a Nickelodeon movie that was based on a Nickelodeon show. Or I should say a Netflix movie that was based on a Nickelodeon show that was canceled. I don't really know why it was canceled. It was Invader Zim. I don't really know why though, because, you know, I know that maybe parents got a little upset that Invader Zim was like eating kids' organs or whatever. You know, I get it. It's a dark show. All right, I have seen the entire show. I don't know how many seasons, maybe 2, maybe 3. I have the whole show. I've seen it countless times. I have my DVD. There's 3 volumes of the DVDs, and I've always loved it. I mean, I don't want to say I watched it as a kid because I didn't have cable, and I probably wouldn't be allowed to, I'm just saying. But at the same time, my cousin was like, "Hey, Brandon, you gotta watch the show." I was like, "What? All right, what is it? You know, what is it?" And she was like, "Oh, it's called Invader Zim. It's about this stupid little green alien and his buddy Gurr and you know, this human Dib and his sister Gaz and Dr. Membrane." And I'm like, "What the fudge is this? This is cool." And then I watched it. Maybe when I was like 12 or 13, I saw it for the first time. And yeah, it's a really dark show, and yeah, it's not my favorite show of all time, right? There's a shit ton of screaming in it, but at the same time, it was in that Nickelodeon era where that was funny, and it is funny. But, you know, there are some episodes where Gurr can only go, "Woo, waffles!" You know, so many times where it's like, all right, let's go. So I'm not saying it's a bad show. I really love it, and really my first kind of, I guess, involvement of this Invader Zim show was basically whenever my mom and I were like, you know, my dad and I would go to the mall to watch a movie or something, you would see these specific stores. You know what I'm talking about, right? There's these specific stores in the mall, like Hot Topic or whatever, and they just have like a crap ton of Invader Zim stuff. They have like Gurr with the little cute, like, you know, green dog thing on shirts. It's everywhere, man. And then it was also like you see Zim in like the occasional SpongeBob game, or, you know, like the Nickelodeon All-Star game or what have you. But, you know, I really haven't been too much into Zim when I was 12 or 13, and then my cousin recommended it. I saw the whole thing. I fell in love with the show. Genuinely, it's a really good Nickelodeon show. Definitely not a kid's show. I mean, SpongeBob isn't either. You know, SpongeBob is for all ages, but this one really felt different. It was like, all right, it probably got canceled because it was too freaking edgy. And it got canceled in the early to mid 2000s, and we never really got a, you know, recovery of that character and of that franchise. We got comic books or what have you, but in terms of like television, actually seeing these characters on a screen, we haven't gotten that until I believe 2020 or 2019, whenever it was. Whenever Invader Zim Enter the Florpus came out, which is the Invader Zim movie that we're talking about. I just thought I'd give you guys some little history of my Invader Zim knowledge. And like I said, I've seen the whole show. I love it. And I really wanted to see what was a definitive ending, because the last episode on my DVD collection is the freaking Christmas special, where it just ends with Zim like laughing in a Santa costume. And then I'm like, is that it? Like, that can't be the end of the show. You know what I mean? It can't end with Zim in a Santa costume. It just can't. So finally we got the movie, and that was Jonan Vasquez, the creator. His kind of love child was like, all right, we're gonna you know, resurface this thing, not for you know, like a sequel show, but we're gonna do a sequel film, and it's about an hour and 11 minutes long. And I finally watched it. I know I'm very, very late to the party, but I never had Netflix. So now that Ninjago Dragons Rising is coming out very soon, October 12th, look forward to that. I'll be hopefully watching those as soon as I can. I have Netflix, and I'm like, all right, you know, I'll give this thing a watch. And what a good movie. I mean, it really does. There's a few things I'm not too keen about, but really I think the best thing about Enter the Florpus is that it captures the spirit of the original show, in that it's dark, and it's funny, and it's entertaining, and it's clever, and all that fun stuff. And first of all, the animation, man. Holy crap, the animation is freaking awesome. Now, the animation in the show isn't bad, right? It's just old. It's like old CGI. CGI that's from the mid-2000s isn't bad. It's just old. You know what I mean? Yeah, it looks like dirt crap now, but, you know, that's what it looked like the best thing in the world in the back of it. You know what I mean? Like, when the Phantom Menace came out, Jar Jar Binks was like, oh my god, he's real! You know, or like, I guess Gollum is a little past that, but you know what I'm saying. So you get that animation. There was some 3D animated stuff in the original show, you know what I mean? They do like these little backdrop reveals of Zim's house or something, and it'd be 3D, or the Urkin Armada, like their ship would be 3D, that kind of thing. But there wasn't a whole lot of that in there, and now we have some really good 3D assets in this film. The animation does look really good. Some of it, though, some of it does look a little bit like, you know, like when you watch Arthur, like the new Arthur, like PBS Kids Arthur? That show. I know it's over with, but you know, they had like the original Arthur was like 2D like drawings and whatever, and then they went to more traditional, like, I almost want to call it, like, you know those weird ass puppets, where it's not like it's not like a puppet, but you know, it's there's chat. It's, you know, it's like they're kind of like this kind of movement, you know, like that. It's kind of like that. That's how this animation looks sometimes. Kind of like the newer version of Arthur in this film. Not all of it, but some of it looks really good and clean, and some of it, you know, there's a few shots that are a little bit wonky where I'm like, that's kind of rough, you know what I mean? So I know, you know, it definitely looks better than the old show. But comparing it to other animated properties that we have now, it's definitely lacking in a few areas. Not bad, but not perfect. But it is a hell of a lot better than what we got in the original show. It's just because, you know, it's newer. But besides the animation, man, the writing is Jonah Vasquez. I believe he wrote it, so that's really cool. The guy that created it. So it's got really good jokes. It has really good, clever callbacks, like Tax's ship that's in Dib's garage. That, again, if you've only seen the show, you'll know about this kind of stuff. So really, you know, you can watch this movie without seeing the show, but this is really, you kind of have to watch the show. This is like the end of the franchise, basically. You know what I mean? They really drop a neat little bow on it, and I don't want to spoil it because, again, I know it's old, but I haven't seen it yet before this video, so I know some of you who are probably watching this have not seen it, but it does end in a pretty definitive way. I did have to Google it, like, what the hell was that ending? I literally Googled that, but at the same time, I got a lot of results when I typed that in Google, but the point is that when I typed that in, I was like, okay, I understand now. I get why Zim is in this situation. Oh, I get why Gert, I get why Dib, I get where Gas, I get where, you know, Dr. Membrane, whatever it is. Is it Membrane? I think it is. But I really did enjoy the film, basically. You know, there's a few issues here or there with the animation, like I said, where it kind of looks a little wonky, like Arthur. But, you know, the story, it's pretty good. It's basically, you know, Zim kind of tries to take over the world, and you see him in the trailer. He's in the toilet. That's all he was doing. Dib is, like, getting old and gross in a chair. There's some really funny stuff in there, too. There's some really good jokes in there. But then you get to a scene where, you know, Dib's, you know, the Florpus thing happens, and Dib's dad goes missing. And you know, him and Gas have to kind of leave the house and try to find his dad and try to stop Zim and whatever. And that's all well and good. But then Dr. Membrane's dad gets like a replacement dad. And it's like a weird-ass, like, orange-red, big fat guy. And he's like, hello, everybody. That's how he sounds. He's like, hello, Dib. You're my favorite friend. I'm your father. And I'm like, oh, this is funny. I get it because he's stupid. And then he kept talking. And I was like, okay, shut up. I'll kill you, you know what I mean? I will kill you. So it's just kind of wonky that, you know, that kind of breaks up the flow a little bit. It's nothing bad. I'm kind of grasping for straws here, but if I had to think of something, because I am reviewing this, there are a few moments where that kind of dragged on a bit, where I'm like, all right, get the dad out of the freaking way, and let's just get on with the story, you know what I mean? But there's some really good action in here, really funny moments, and again, it does really wrap up this show in probably a pretty good way. Is it as dark and twisted and weird as some of the older Zim episodes? No, and I don't think it has to be. I don't think that Zim is defined by being weird and gross and edgy, because it's a genuinely good premise. It's about a stupid little green alien and his robot buddy. They try to take over the world, but they're total friggin' morons, and Dib is a little bit less of a total moron, and he tries to stop him, and, you know, it's kind of like this Tom and Jerry cat and mouse type thing, and it finally comes to an end here, again, in a pretty definitive way. It's a little bit left open for interpretation, like, oh, is that really, you know, oh, maybe he's not this way, or maybe she's not doing that, or maybe the Urkin Armada isn't in this predicament. I'm just saying, I don't want to ruin it for you guys, but it does kind of end off in a really nice way, where I'm like, okay, you know, as a massive fan of the show, again, I'm not saying it's my favorite animated show of all time, but I do own it all, and I like it. I think this was a really good definitive ending for this thing. Now, you know, will they reboot this in X amount of years? I don't know. You know, I mean, it could very well happen. But in terms of this specific Invader Zim canon, this film, Enter the Florpus, did kind of wrap that all up in a neat little bow. And I gotta say, there's a few things here or there with the animation, a few jokes that didn't land, a few plot points I wish were a little bit, you know, less dragged on. I do wish maybe it could have been a little more epic. Just in scope, but there's a scene with a specific character in the end, man, I literally, my mouth was open and I was like, oh my god, like, that's effing cool, you know, so there's some really badass moments in here, but other than that, man, I really got to give Invader Zim and Invader the Florpus a pretty good review. I mean, I really enjoyed it. Again, it kind of wraps up what you want of this show. It has the same kind of style and simplicity that made Zim so popular and you know, powerful as a franchise in the first place, while also being really funny and just kind of true to what all these characters are. Gaz is a little bit less creepy and weird, but, you know, she actually has, like, you know, Gaz in the original show was just kind of there, and she's like, damn, you know, that's all she really does. She just kind of, like, threatens to kill him. But there's a few character moments there which I really like, where Gaz is like, hey, you know, I only to Dib she's like, hey, I only tease you so much because I know you can handle it, you know? So there's some good character moments in there, some really nice plot threads that are set up in the show, sometimes in the first episode of the show, and they're never resolved in the show, and they're finally resolved in this film. Again, I wish it was a little bit longer too, but that's really not a negative, just kind of my own little thing. Clocking in at about, like I said, an hour and 10 minutes. It's not really too short of a film, but again, I do wish it was a little bit longer because, again, it was... you know, the end of this amazing show, and I kind of wanted to see more of content with this stuff. But I did enjoy it nonetheless. If I'm going to give Invader Zim Enter the Florpus a rating from a 0 to a 10, I'd probably give it like a 9 maybe. If I were to give it my actual film review, I'd probably give it, I don't know, A-. I thought it was a really good film. Again, it sets up everything you want in the show. It ends in a really nice way, and it does kind of leave the door open for more, but at the same time, it does feel like a definitive ending for this franchise. Tell me in the comments down below what you thought about Invader Zim Enter the Florpus. Have you seen the Invader Zim show? What do you think about it? Do you like the show? Do you like the movie? Have you not seen it? If you haven't, I highly recommend it. You can find the DVDs online very, very cheap. I got all mine from the Exchange, which is just a little thrift store that I go to all the time. But yeah, you know, you can find them pretty cheap online. They got like I think they have like a Blu-ray box set or whatever. And then you can find the movie on eCreator, but you know, that's I guess it's bad, but you pay tax on it, so don't worry, you're fine. But yeah, I did watch it on Netflix just because I had that for Ninjago. But you can buy it on eCreator, which I might do because I'm a big physical you know, DVD collector and all that. But I enjoyed it, man. I really did. I thought it was a pretty fun movie, pretty funny movie. Actually, kind of pulled on the heartstrings a bit and really kind of closed the door while also keeping us slightly open for more in this franchise. Thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next video.